Hello. So, if you've been following the Facebook group, Black Rifle Model Works, or been watching the YouTube channel, you'll probably know that Graham, one of the fellow admins, has been asking the community to post short videos of their workspaces or whether build their models, whether it be a dedicated office like this or a dining room table. It doesn't really matter. I used to work on a dining room table, and there's, well, as we seen on the live show last Friday, there's some absolutely fantastic work coming off a dining room table. So yeah. So in response to that, the admins are posting videos of their workspaces. Graham's already put his up. He's got a great setup, and yeah, this is mine. It's certainly not the best video. I'm not very good at these type of things. In fact, I've sort of walked around and filmed it off my iPhone, and I've done it in portrait, and I thought to myself afterwards, well, what a plonker, I should have done it in landscape. And then, yeah, anyway, so yeah, let's take a look. Right, this is where I build my models. It's also my home office. Yeah, so I've got a couple of storage units here. This one has got mainly paints in it, a central coffee machine, Silhouette Cameo, and general tools and materials in that one, which I'll probably go through a bit more detail soon. Some of my bike models and Lego. I like the Lego because I'm a big kid. And at the top I've got a classic 1980s Technic Lego chassis, which I had when I was a young kid. My dad bought me for Christmas, loved it. Books and models, got the Chippy and the Flak 36 there, which I'm just trying to sort out some display for. This is my PC setup, and this is it. This is where I build my models. Just got my essential stuff drawers down there, my PC and my stash up there, and yeah, I'll just go through have a little bit in a bit more detail for you. Just to add as well, one thing you'll notice is I do not have a spray booth in here, and that's because I do all my spraying down in the garage. I'll go through that soon. Yeah, it works for me, to be fair. It's probably not everyone's cup of tea, but yeah, I just don't like the smells in here and whatnot. And another thing that I'm working on is I take my photos here. All the stuff's in that cupboard, things like my tripod, my soft boxes, my camera, and I sort of get it out each time I take photos, which is a bit of a pain, so I'm trying to work on a method of getting a fixed photo area. So yeah. Okay, so the bench itself, got my light, Black Rifle Model Works. Okay, so this is exactly how I leave it while I'm working. I do have a tidy up. I haven't bothered to do any tidying especially for it. Here got things like Tamiya catalogues, reference books, if like my bike models, sort of things like my photo collections, and these are great. These books are happy. Pictures of motorbike details, all that good stuff. And also the racers magazines. Yeah, these are pretty good too, if you're into them. These are Japanese magazines, so you read them right to left. These are the same if you want any good reference pictures, so yeah, keep those there. Got some other stuff here, things like my Infinite cutting mat. Managed to get hold of snaffle some high density plastic there, which I use for things like cutting PE on mini anvil. It's just a tote that I use. I'll just grab whatever paints I need and stick them in here and keep them together while I'm working on them. Milk bottle tops. I I get through a lot of them for just doing quick bits of painting, brush painting, or putting super glue in, brush cleaner, various chemicals, white spirits, crocodile clips for spray painting, pens, glasses. Small Surface Pro, which I've got hooked up to a couple of webcams here. One directed at me and one down on the bench. Box on, soldering iron, paint mixer, coffee warmer, coffee heater, which I use for when I'm decaling, just to keep the decal water warm, and various clamps, offcuts of sanding sponges, save waste in them. And yeah, so let's put this camera up here. So obviously I've got my cutting mat, keep my various stuff, working on Space Marines at the minute. And then yeah, at the back here I've got my sanders, usually keep sponge sanders there, thinny sticks and these extra thin sanders in there. This is sort of where I keep my knives, scalpels of various types, large Tamiya knife. That's a tool I made for making weld beads. Razor saw there, and just general tools. For spreading putty. This is where I keep my general stuff, things like my verniers, brush that I use for cleaning my files out, scissors, chrome pens, all that. Brushes there, drill bits, circuit board drill bits, Tamiya tapes, things like wire wool, brushes, photo etch glue, just stuff that I use quite a bit of, things like clamps, cocktail sticks, pin vise, glass files, excuse me, various tweezers, cotton wool buds, and these sanding things. I need to have a sort out to this stuff actually, because half of this stuff I never use, and I could probably stick some more useful stuff in there. Various glues, surface primers. Basically these are for just Tamiya style bottles of various stuff. Funnily enough, I've got 40mm grenade cartridges which I use. I 3D printed an insert into the top, and these make great painting handles when you're doing stuff. Just stick them in and swap them out, and just bodge them in there. Black Rifle, Model Worx mug. So yeah, things like razor saw. These two mugs are pretty much my real go-to stuff. Nippers, the good Tamiya ones. So that's a trumpeter chisel. I've got a full set of them. They're great. These are really good. These two, so the Tamiya chisels. Diamond file for photo etch. Little clamp for photo etch. That's good for photo etch. The only problem is it's got serrated edges, so it tends to mark it. So I don't use it so much these days. That's my favourite scriber. I usually stick corks on the ends of things because I'm not Frank Spencer and I'll lean over and cut myself up. Tamiya pliers. These are that's probably my most, these two are probably my most used tools, funnily enough. A basic file from Tamiya, great for shifting things like sprue gates quickly, and then just do a final sand on them if they're particularly big. And this is just, I'll buy a load of pins with the plastic balls on the end, and then I'll crack them off with this and put them in a pin vise. Absolutely fantastic for just putting things like super glue on and just general stuff, and I tend to use that quite a bit. Various tweezers, reverse tweezers, putty spreaders, Citadel seam scraper. This is my go-to seam scraper. I think it's a Squadron one, I'm not sure. But this thing is great, and it's the ends are sort of opposite hands, so if you get in that side and then get in the other side if you need be. And that's really good, that is. These are my go-to tweezers. They're just cheap Mr. Tools ones, but I've used them for that long now. I've just got so used to them, and to be fair, I'd probably be lost without those. yeah, and that's pretty much just the work area. Okay, so I've got my stash up here. It's just a mixture of armour, aircraft, you know, figures, old Tamiya kits. It's not a massive stash. It's not a small one. It's sort of, yeah. I'm not a massive fan of massive stashes, to be fair. But the reason I've got quite a few is because I've bought these old classic Tamiya kits when they're going at the right prices, because I do love them. They're my favourite. I just love the old 500cc two-stroke GP bikes. And I've got quite a few of the same, because obviously things like the YZR 500, I want to do King Kenny's bike, and I've got schemes for things like the Japanese Sun Auto GP team. And then I've got like Freddie Spencer's, I want to do Joey Dunlop's Northwest 200, the RS 500 bike with that one. Barry Sheen, legend, obviously I want to do his bike there. And I've also got this kit which I'm going to convert with that trans kit to make it into the Sheen Texaco Heron bike. Got quite a few old Protar kits which I've picked up. Those aren't the best, but I've got some plans with them, because although they're not brilliant kits, we can do some, they're great subjects, and I'm planning on doing some scanning and remodeling and 3D printing and all that good stuff with them. So yeah, they're one for the future. And Desert Babes Tornado, that's for the group build. You know, I've got a Newport biplane there, Calibra. Yeah, down here, more bike kits. Got a 140h Stern Tiger which I bought for my son. Also bought that Harrier up there. I managed to pick that up the other week for 12 quid, and it's just something you can throw together and brush paint and have fun with and play with it. So for 12 quid you can't complain at that. Got some boxes here which I use for if I've got sub-assemblies that have been like painted or clear coated. I usually bodge them in here just to get the dust off them and keep them organised. Got some various bits and bobs here, as you can see. Pretty self-explanatory. Got a Moto jig, I've only ever used it once. I need to sell that actually. If I'm building a bike I use this, and I just clamp the bike in there, which I knocked up myself out. There's some Unistrut and cheap clamps, and that works better for me, because I just clamp it in there and I can take it in and out with ease. Yeah, and that's about it for the stash really. Okay, my cable management is shocking. So underneath here I've got things like nitrile gloves, nice big brush, use that for brushing me bench down, as well as my little desktop do the thing. Nitriles, as I say. I've got some Top Studio wheels for the 787B up there. This drawer is not the best organised, but it's got all my immediate stuff. So I've got things like Gorilla Glues, sponge for sponge chipping, various Tamiya glues, plastic weld, MEK, Panaline washes from Tamiya, Surface of 500 for doing things like textures. Mr. Mel primer, I've got quite a bit of photo etch to paint. Just general glues, putties, disposable brushes, spare tapes, spare cut more buds, and Microsol, Microset. Yeah. And then in this drawer, this is, let's have a look. So it's all thin gauge wires, solders, copper wire, things for scratch building tubing or putting tubing on bikes, fishing line tubing, which is good for yeah, doing various automotive pipe work, or some disposable brushes there, some spares, adhesive metallic tapes, aluminium, copper, they come in quite useful. Elastic bands, tapes, magnets for the things like bike fairings, and I think those are Ming nuts and bolts. I've just got some of each side at hand. These are some sanding blocks I made for planing big drips out of like 2K clear coat if I want to do a big long run. Down here, Tamiya sanding sponges, just junk really, just spare bottles of stuff. It's mainly finishing stuff. I've got my heat gun, which I use a lot for getting decal, you know, stubborn decals there, and Tamiya polishing compounds, various polishing compounds, spare bottles, what are they called, wet and dry sponges. Yeah, and that's about it. This is my go-to drawer. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to add, I've got 2 organisers here. This one, this is more for bikes really, so I've got things like mini springs, mini washers, mini nuts and bolts, injection moulded nuts and bolts, resin, hose connectors, photo etch straps, braided hoses, and that's, as I say, stuff made for the bikes. This one is more aftermarket, I think, but it's more armour aircraft based. Things like resin, ammunition boxes, photo etch, straps, buckles, and just offcuts of old photo etch that have still got bits left on them that may be useful. I think some resin figures in there, and that's about it really. Okay, so over to these 2. This side I keep mainly my painting. So in this drawer we've got Tamiya XFs and Tamiya X range. It's a bit all over the place in a minute. My daughter, bless her, says, "Oh, I'll organise that for you, Dad." But I think she did it for 2 minutes and got bored. Tamiya metallics, various thin and mediums, retarders, Tamiya LPs, those are. Citadel paints for Warhammer and MRPs, and in there. And here I've got various washes, pigments, filters, same in the middle, and sort of general dropper bottles from different manufacturers there. Vallejo paints, this one, old school enamels. These are AK Extreme Metals. I've got a full set of the lacquer ones. I've got some of the old enamel ones that I think they've changed from the enamel to the lacquer now. The lacquers are miles better. I used to love the enamel ones, but the drying time and durability of them was a bit suspect. Various other metallics. I don't tend to use these. I think I was a bit. Those are from when I didn't know much better and I was buying water-based metallics. These are things like gravity paints, colour match paints from like Zero Gravity, mainly for bikes, automotive stuff. These are my clear coats from there. I've got some Gravity 2Ks at the back. Here I keep a set, okay, weathering pencils, spare sponges and pads for my wet palette, some various oils. There's a Flesh Colours Abtalon 502 Flesh Colours oil set, and you know, things like Vallejo flesh painting sets, Dust and Rust from Life Colour, AKs, just general paint stuff shoved in the bottom there. Okay, at the top I've got Aura Mask for this is the Silhouette Cameo, and cut my own masks. I'll go with some there, that's pretty good stuff. Tamiya rotor, Tamiya drill, various pliers and clamps at the back for photo etch bending, some soft grip pliers. These are the tools for the Silhouette. Various little bits of chemicals, clamps, dividers, circle cutters, files, glues. There's no specific logic to how this is organised, it's just sort of shoved in there. Spare circuit board drill bit. These aren't the best, to be fair, though. You're better off getting like shank drills like this, but you know, just for doing simple work they're quite good. Got track assembly guides, photo etch bending tools, rod bending, hook making, whatever thingamajig, rolling pin for putty, That's a scriber, photo etch benders, leaf cutters, general tools, sculpting, general pin vices. This is my, if I've got decals to do, I just keep everything in this tin, and it's got everything in there. Things like my decal scissors, decal tweezers, reverse pliers, reverse tweezers, sorry, a very sharp knife, scalpel. Basically anything I need for decaling. Right, this one is pretty much the same. I've got some weathering bits and bobs here. I never use these. I don't know why I bought them, to be fair. Gorilla Glue, debonder, glue loopers and applicators, clamps, screwdrivers, pins, which are using my pin vise over there, large files, aviation tin snips, scissors, spare scalpel blades, riveting tools, hook making, grab handle making tools, glue applicators, yeah, that's all that. So I keep my bar stock, wires and rods, metal wires and rods are on this side, various diameters and materials, things like nickel, brass. This is purely styrene, square sections, round sections, tubing, various sizes and diameters, some quite big aluminium there, because I turn things like the exhausts, cans for my bike models and my lathe downstairs, things like that, if you can see it. Styrene sheet, various thicknesses, spare tapes, spare 40mm grenade cartridges, for whatever reason. Keep my solder and my flux in here. My flux is leaking a bit. Rosin flux I use. Tin foil, which comes in useful. Brass sheet down there. Rubber, set of rubber O-rings. Those come in handy. And finally, down here we've got the 3 RP Tools punch sets, round, hexagon, domed round. Good old Tamiya airbrush cleaner, which I top up my extra thin with. Photo etch rolling set, multi-tool tools, lenses for my optivisor, decal tray, flexi file sanding thingamajig, cotton wool buds, clamps, decal solutions and corks, and that's about it. Okay, so down in my garage now. This is the area where I've set aside for 3D printing. I've only took delivery of this last week, so I'm just getting things set up. As you can see, it's a Photon Mono X 6K. I will sort the cable management. It's a bit messy at the moment, but I'm just getting this one sorted. As you can see, I've got to get this working. This is a little heater for the enclosure because it's in my garage. It just helps maintain the temperature for the resin, and it's got a built-in thermostat and can keep it inside there at the say 30 degrees or whatever it needs to be. Got the washing and curing station. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then I've got some gloves. I'm going to set this drawer aside here for keeping all my gubbins for 3D printing, things like my little tools that come with it, screen protectors, resin filters. This is sort of yet to be organised. Got some bits in here I need to sort. That's the wash and cure station. Got some metal strips here which are good for scratch building stuff like copper sheet, stainless steel. That comes in useful every now and then. Another drawer full of rubbish. It's got a spare resin tray for the printer, which has got to be took out of there and sorted. And I'll just keep things like my Scenics and Tamiya tapes and double-sided tape. And oh wow, who had one of these back in the day? Aztec A370 or A470 was it? Oh, I can't remember. Bloody rubbish, isn't it? Right. This part of the bench, I've got a Proxon FD150 lathe I use this for turning aluminium bar down for things like barrels, end cans on motorbike models. That there, well, funnily enough, was the dimensions I did for the end can on the Kawasaki KR1000F. Yeah, turn the exhaust down on that. Got a Proxon little drill press, that's quite useful. Yeah, that's what I do down here. This tool here has got all my lathe tools in there. So I've got the cutting tools, collets, small drill bits, calipers, verniers, small drill bits. Got a drill chuck for the tail end stock on the lathe, holding down dogs. Yeah, that's pretty much everything in there for these two. Tools up there are the spanners and hex keys that are needed for this, so they're always at hand. And that's pretty much it for this bit. But yeah, I'll probably cover more when I get into this on the debrief. Right, so this is where I do my spraying. This spray booth, bear with me a second, let's pop that on. This is a bench vent BV300 and I knocked up an enclosure for it which I repurposed an IKEA office bookshelf thing, sort of cut the height down, used the mid shelf, sat that in the bottom, pushed that back to sit the extractor on, and then cut a hole in the back, added some lights, wired it all up, wired the extractor to a switch as well so I can control both the lights and the extractor from that switch. Now this is the compressor that I use, it's absolutely massive. The reason I use this is because I've got it plugged in anyway, which feeds all the compressed air to things like my shot blast cabinet, which is over there. I've got various air blow-off guns on the benches and it feeds a retractable hose up there. But what I've done, well, really how it works is it comes off the main compressor to the main pressure regulator and moisture trap, which feeds the garage, but I've sort of tapped off there with another line to a micro regulator and moisture trap, which feeds the supply for the airbrushes on there. And then that's pretty good because once I've charged it up, it'll last me all day, and then I can sort of control the pressure off the line there, really purely for airbrushing. Right, what I tend to keep in the enclosure itself is I've got a temperature regulator. As you can see, it's about 8 degrees at the moment, which is no good for spraying, but there is a big 3 kilowatt heater behind me, which I sort of put on cold days, and it puts a warm cross draft across, and then as soon as I get up to a decent temperature I can start spraying then. Usually keep the sort of stuff at hand, things like standard thinners, cleaning station. I've usually got some bits of mixed up paints here. My go-to primers I mix up in batch, things like Mr. Servicer 1500 grey and black. As for my airbrushes, I use my Daily Driver, which is an Iwata HPC Plus. I love this airbrush, it's absolutely fantastic just for general work. I've got PS270, that's good for the finer work, that's a lovely airbrush. Also got the old TRN1 Neo for Iwata. I don't tend to use that much these days, to be fair, but it used to be good for laying down lots of primer. I've got an Ultimate Apex. I'll purely use that for 2K, just to save me plugging up any of my other airbrushes. PS771 for super detail work. That's a great brush. And I've also got a couple of Harder and Steam Becks. These are going to go up for sale soon. I personally, I don't use them. I don't get on with them, to be fair. Got the Infinity, and this is the Evolution to AL Plus 2-in-1. Yeah, so that's it. Those are my airbrushes. Right, so next to the spray booth, I've got a tray full of junk. I usually keep it tools, just general stuff I need for my airbrush. I've got a little sort of upside down storage box that I use for keeping the dust off like car body shells, bike shells, or whatever I'm spraying just to get the dust off. It's got a little sponge filter on there just to let the air breathe in and out. And that's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it for down here. Yeah.